I'm so glad you came back to see my next project. I'm going to be starting this portrait of this Havanese. His name is Sullivan. So, hi Wesley. Wesley had to come in and say hello. So, he kind of looks like Wesley, doesn't he? Except he's got more white. So I'm excited to get him started. I'll work you through the process and how I do it. And I'm excited as always. So stay tuned and you will see the progress of how Sullivan comes to life on the canvas. Thank you. Bye-bye. Till next time. All right, so I'm going to get started with Sullivan. Okay, he's a Havanese, and I'll walk you through the steps. So what I did here on my canvas, or on my palette, I put some burnt sienna, and I'm just going to tone the canvas. I don't like leaving it white. So I'm going to put him up here so I can look at him. I also use my iPad a lot for a reference. But to start off, I'm going to get the burnt sienna, and I'm going to dip my brush into some turpentine, and I'm just going to water down the paint. Okay, now what color you use to tone the canvas doesn't really matter, I don't think. I just use this color because I really like it. So it's just to tone it. I'm just going to splash it on there, make a big mess, a fun mess. I might not have used enough paint. I seem to always do that. I don't like to waste paint, so I usually use less, put less on my palette than what I need. So I'm always, but that's okay. All right, here we go. And the turpentine just kind of waters it down, thins it down. So I put everything that I've got on my palette here, and then what I'm going to do is come back with a paper towel and just kind of smear it around. Okay, and there, it gives it a pretty tone. I love this color. I love burnt sienna. It's a warm color. I think that's probably why I use it, because I like it. But it's going to disappear. It's not going to stay. Okay, so next, I'll show you what I need to do next. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to put Sullivan on the canvas, okay? So there is a little technique that I use. I hope I can explain it clearly so you can understand it. What I use is this tool. It's called a prospect divider. Okay, so it's pretty easy to use. It took me a little while to learn because I have a problematic brain and it took me a while. But once it sunk in and I did it, it finally sunk in and I was able to figure it out, that it's really not that hard. But initially it felt like it was. So what I do is I measure. Well, as you can see, I put some guidelines on his photograph just to have an idea more or less. I can see that his eyes are level to each other pretty much. This one's a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And I just wanted to gauge as to where his nose was, you know, according to his eyes. So that's just a guide for me. But what I do what I do first is more or less everything initially is a guessing game. determine where I want the top of his head, or actually the tops of his hair, the tips of his hair, the side of his head, where his ear hair is, down here, and then more or less where the bottom of his body is right here. So, okay, I have some guides, and then I get my prospect divider, and as you can see, okay, this bottom part is shorter in distance from this one. This one's wider, okay, so you can see. So I labeled it to know that this is the side that goes on the canvas, and this is the side that goes to the photograph, the bottom. So what I do is, oh, and another thing, this is a square canvas, okay? It's a 12 by 12, and this is a 5 by 7, I think, photograph that I got from my printer. So I have to keep that in mind, that it's going to, the measurements are different, so I'm gonna have to play with the divider. So right now, I'm going to do him vertically, okay, from top to bottom. And I had to put this thing right here on the first notch, okay, and that determines the size horizontally. I'm going to put a link to some tutorials on how to use this. They can explain it a lot better than I can. So that's how I learned. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this side, about this side here, is going to measure the photograph. So what I'm going to do is measure from the top of his nose to the top of the photograph, okay, with the short end. The short end is with the photograph, and then the longer end right here, which is wider than here, it says canvas, I'm going to more or less figure out where the top of his nose is. It's pretty much centered, so I'm going to guess that the top of his nose is right here. Okay, it's the top of his nose. And then I'm going to measure from the bottom of his nose to the bottom of the photograph with this. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put this edge on the bottom, and then the bottom of his nose should be right there. Okay, so that should be pretty much his nose. All right, so now I have to switch, since I'm doing it horizontally and the measurement is different, vertically and horizontal, I'm going to have to switch the this little, whatever this is called. And I had already done this before I got on the camera, that the third notch measures horizontally. The first notch measured vertically. So I'm going to put this on the third notch. Okay, that's the third notch. And I'm going to tighten it up so it doesn't move around. They have to be even. I tell you, this takes a little practice, a lot of practice. It's not as easy. The measuring part is easy, but getting this to be correct is not all that easy. So I'm going to put it on the third notch from the top, and then just tighten it up. And now I'm going to measure the side of his nose, okay? The right side of his nose to the edge of the paper, and I'm going to transfer it here, okay? So this would be the outside of his nose, okay? Okay, and then the outside of his nose. So then I'm going to do the other side of his nose. And it seems like this thing has moved around on me. You're witnessing my struggles with this thing. But I do like this tool because it really helps me. Some people put grids to transfer their photographs, but I just don't like that. Okay, so here we go. From here, from the left side of his nose to the edge of the paper, that's the measurement. So I'm going to transfer it over here and get my, and that's going to be the left side of his nose. Okay, so that's pretty much his nose, the size of his nose. Okay, but I'm going to come in, refine it, of course, and eyeball it, step back, look at it. It's all a process. So now I'm going to, oh, wait a minute. Okay, the third notch, horizontal. Anyway, I'm going to do the eyes, okay? So, the eyes. Okay, so his eyes. Okay, I'm going to measure from the inside of his eye, of his left eye, with this, to the edge of the paper. But again, this I'm going to guess because I don't exactly know where his eye is. I'll be fixing this. So I'm going to guess more or less. At least I'll know where it is. Okay, that's the inside of his eye. Let me check that. No. The inside of his eye, right here. No, it should be right here. That was a mistake. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the right eye. The inside of his eye to the edge of the paper. And I know that they're pretty much level, in line with each other. So I'm going to put it right there. That's the inside of his eye. Okay. So that's pretty much what I'm going to start out as. I'm thinking that I'm going to measure. Okay, you know what? I think that's pretty good to start off. So hopefully I've done this right. If not, I can always play around with it and change it around. But I'm also going to put the dividing lines. Like I have here on the photograph, I'm going to put the dividing lines on the canvas so that I can see. I'm going to use a ruler just to be, well, you know what? I can just use my pinky to keep it stable. I'm going to go like this. That's the inside of his eye. Go all the way down. And now, I do know that that's the edge of his nose, the left side, so I'm going to do a straight line, just like I have in the photograph. Get that as straight as possible. And then I'm going to do it like I have it in the photograph. It's just easier for me to turn the canvas. So I'm going to, let's see, that's the nose, rather the eye. So now I have the same gauge lines on the canvas as I do on the photograph. Okay, so I think I'm going to, I hope this isn't a mistake, measure from the top of his nose to that line on the photograph, and let's hope that it's accurate. Okay, so it's that much. Now let's see if this, yes, see there? It's accurate. So that's the top of Sullivan's nose, it's right there. Okay, and that's his nose. Okay, I love it when it works out. All right, so now I'm going to put him up here so that I can keep an eye on him. I put this shirt on. We're in the middle of a bad storm. Or actually, we're not in the middle of it. They're forecasting a historical snowstorm. Historic bad weather for where we live, which is crazy, the end of September. And I am not ready for this, but it is starting to cool down. So I'm just happy to be able to do this, to be painting today. Let me move this forward. All right, so what I'm going to do next here, I also use my iPad a lot for references. See there? It's more accurate to me, more clear than the printed out reference that I have. So I use both. I'm gonna try putting it, well, for now. So what I'm gonna do here, see how he's got so much white? I'm just going to clear away some of this burnt sienna from underneath. Just around the areas where he has white. This just kind of starts to bring him out a little bit. And then this area in here. I did wet my paper towel in turpentine. It's odorless. And I like these blue ones because they don't have any lint. The other ones, it just always leaves fuzzy things on the canvas. So here it is. At least you can see more or less what it is. I like this part of it, part of the painting. Okay. I can see Sullivan. I love that name, by the way. I love his name. Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to start. This is just the beginning. Just get something on the canvas that more or less looks like a dog. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get this brush. This is a Bright. It is, I think it's a number 4. But what I like about this brush, it doesn't really matter what brush you use. Whatever does it for you, you know? Whatever does the work. I'm always switching brushes, looking for the right one that works what I'm trying to do. But I like the edge. It's got a really nice edge. I will probably use other brushes. I know I will, other brushes. So I'm going to get, I have black on my palette. This is a piece of glass that I made into a canvas. And I'm going to use a little bit of linseed oil. It helps to spread the paint around. Just a little bit. It kind of thins down the paint a little bit. It just kind of helps with the thinning. And I'm going to start. I should probably do something with his eye. Well, actually, I think I said earlier that I don't like his eyes on this photograph because he's squinting. So I am going to use a different photograph for his eyes because another photograph has his eyes wide open, but it's not a very good photograph, but his eyes do look good. So I'm going to use that other photograph. So I'm going to start, let's start with his nose. Okay, it's black. Just going to put the shape of his nose down. And I'm just looking at my reference photo and I'm just painting what I see as accurately as I can. Just paint what I see. So this weekend they forecast a lot of snow, very cold temperatures. And it's just too early. All right, and then I'm going to put his mouth. It's just a guesstimate as to where his mouth should be. Just going to put a little bit of a suggestion of it. His bottom lip. And then I am going to start putting his fur in. I find it best to start with dark colors and then add the lighter colors on top. But the problem with, well, I don't know if it's a problem, but the thing I don't like about oils, I love oils. I love how the final project comes out. There's just something about the looks of oils. I don't know if it's because the original painters from hundreds of years ago used oils, but I've always loved, I love it. I love how it feels compared to acrylics. But the thing I don't like about it is that it takes a long time to dry. But there are mediums that you can mix with the oils that helps with that. So, and I do use them. And of course, the beginning stages of any painting looks terrible. It makes you wonder if the painter knows what they're doing, if the artist knows what they're doing. And initially they may not. Like me, I sometimes wonder. But somehow I managed to get it done, to accomplish it, and that is so satisfying. Okay, I'm going to look for the reference photo. Oh, here we go. That he's got his eyes open. Just, it's not a very good photograph. But I think I'm going to try to do something with his eyes. He's got dark brown eyes, so I'm not going to paint them black. I don't think I'm going to paint them. I'm going to start with burnt umber. Okay, where's that brush? Okay, got burnt umber on my palette. Got a little bit of linseed oil. And here is the his eyes, but they have flash. The reflection of the flash is hitting it. So, but I'm going to open them up. I need to make him bigger, I will. But at least I have an idea here that I'm going to open him up instead of being so squinty. All right, the other side. And I don't know this dog, just like I didn't know Molly. So I forget where he lives. I have to look it up again. This is a commission piece. And he has a brother. I don't know if they're related by blood, but he does have a brother. And I'm going to be doing him too. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so I have his eyes in there, sort of. I have more of an idea. So what I'm going to do is, just to make sure it's more accurate, I'm going to get my divider here. And I'm going to measure, again, let's see, from end to end of his eyes. And then I'm going to, oh my goodness, that's not right. What have I done? But it looks right. According to this, they should be more separated. If there's a mistake, I will fix it. So I'm going to continue putting some black on him. Okay, his eyes, I just put him in there as a reference, but I'm going to continue with the black and just put the paint on there and copy what I see. And I'm not liking this brush, so I'm going to switch it. This one will probably take me a little bit more time. But that's all right, as long as I accomplish what I want. And painting is a matter of a lot of layers. Okay, the first layer is just the beginning. The first layer for me is more like a guide of things to come. And I do get a soft brush like this one, and then I do kind of soften what I've done. As I go along, I soften it. I'm thinking about switching brushes. Oops.